Everybody get down! Everybody gather around. Foster wants to tell stories. Guys, how's it going? Foster here with Prestige Outdoors, and I'm in my hometown of Rapid City, South Dakota at Black Hills Archery with Jacob, who is the #1 bow tech, period, in my mind. You can't change that otherwise. But in my hands, I have some new Gold Tip Pierce LRT arrows. Very excited. 250 spine for my 85-pound bow, 9.8 grains per inch, and these things are going to be absolute tack drivers after he gets done with them. So let's take these shafts and turn them into these. Let's begin. Let's go build arrows. All right.
So the first thing I'm going to do is pull all these knocks off quick. I am going to find some 4mm, some 166 glue-in points. Put in either end of these arrows so we can spin them and just kind of get an idea on what end is the wobbliest. We got long draw lengths, we can use every inch of straightness we can get, and even shorter guys can get it better because they can take the very middle, they can cut off both ends and get that straightest center chunk out of there.
Okay. So basically, if it's wobbly on this side, we're going to cut this side.
Yep. I
heard some guys will cut like a little bit off both ends. Is that beneficial at all?
Yeah, absolutely. If you've got a little wobble on each end that you can see, you can trim that down and get just that straightest middle chunk out of there. Okay. For us, you know, our long draw lengths, we're only removing 1.5 inches or 1 inch on each side, but shorter guys like Corey, they can cut down, you know, they're only shooting 27-inch arrows. On some of them, they can take 1.5 inches or 2 inches off each side. So
perfect.
We'll see how that works.
Dude, he is a master at everything archery, whether it's putting your bow together, putting your arrows together. Doesn't matter, dude. Like, he's done a lot of work on my lift, and that thing shoots absolutely fire. Dude, he's down. Guys. That's so cool, huh? So the reason I know Jacob is hardcore archery and he's really good at it is because of his tattoos. Show him.
Known as my greatest mystery. I'm just going to clean these tips up a little bit. Alright, so we can spin this arrow. You can see that this guy's a little bit wobbly on both ends. You can get in on that point right there, and you can see if we roll it slow, you can just see that point has a little bit of movement. This end is better than this end. So this one is a little bit straighter than this guy right here. I don't think it would hurt us to cut off both ends though, so we're going to just go ahead and take our silver Sharpie, make a little scribble. And then we're going to pull our points out, do it again. So this arrow isn't bad overall, actually. This end is a little bit wobblier than this end again. We'll just cut it from both sides and get that center.
So that's good to know, because I figured like when an arrow says like they're a certain straightness, that plain and dry everything is going to be completely straight on it. But that's not the case.
Every manufacturer is a little bit different, and it goes by length a lot.
Okay.
Most companies and spines, I think it's 28 inches is what they'll guarantee straightness tolerance at. Let's mark that end right there.
You know what? I'm going to do something productive and get these arrows ready for him. So that's a bow side arrow right there.
This is a bow side arrow, and I scribbled more on this end. I basically filled in that end to know this is the wobblier one, and this is the less wobbly one. So if we're going to cut more off one side, I'm going to take more off of the wobblier side than the straight side.
So a lot of people don't know this, but I started here, right here at Black Hills Archery. I had to have been, what, like 8 or 9 years old? Like, just a little guy. But Al was very instrumental in getting me into archery, loving it. He started me on like 65 pounds. I don't get it.
That explains why you shoot 90 pounds now?
You know, shh, we don't talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, Bomar say there's only 3 people in the world, but that's not true. I shoot a lot of archery, okay?
It's a high priority in this household.
Coming into Black Hills Archery, it feels like family. When you step in the door, everyone's very friendly. You tell some tall tale stories, but at the end of the day, you spend some money and it's a good time. All right, so we're just finishing up the last one, huh?
Yep, that's it. Now we're gonna sort these by the ones that we're gonna cut off one end and then the ones that we're gonna cut off two.
Okay. Will you notice a huge difference for hunting going through this versus just cutting off one end?
You know, for a mechanical broadhead, you can get away with a lot more than a fixed blade, and I don't think that straightness tolerance really shows a super giant huge difference until you're out at distance. You know, you're talking 60, 70, 80 and farther. But I know guys that swear to God that straightness tolerance is one of the most important factors for indoor game and outdoor game and everything. And I think it matters a great bit, especially at our longer drawings. You know, short guys can get away with a lot just because they have, well, they can take a 006 arrow and cut it down and get it better. But us guys with 31-inch plus drawings, that gets a little tougher, you know.
That's where we struggle.
But one thing I will mention, just because we're doing it right now, I will never heat carbon with a torch, because carbon can get way too hot and fray out and get weak. If you just walk it with a lighter like this, you know, really lick it and heat it up slow, you're not going to hurt that carbon. It's just better for the arrow.
Was I in the shot? Uh-oh.
Alright, so now that insert pops right out, we can just measure Foster's carbon to carbon measurement. So these guys bare shaft are like 29 7/8 or something like that, I want to say. So we can take 1.5 inches off one side and 1 inch and a little bit off the other for these dual cutters. But let's just go ahead and get our straight cuts down first. The easiest way to do that for guys who have a clone arrow is you can just butt your arrow up against your saw and come in here and leave the blade. Set it just barely so that arrow can touch that.
So those are the one cutters?
Yep, these ones right here are all of our one cutters. These are all of our two cutters. Always double check. So those are single cutters. All right, here we're gonna take our big chunks off of these guys, so we'll find our arrows that we marked. Make sure that we got them all facing the right direction. And we don't. This is why we double check everything, because all humans can make mistakes. So we got all the wobbliest of the ends of the double cut arrows off now, and you can see that we didn't even cut off enough to take off all of where that silver Sharpie was on some of them. So that's how little room we're dealing with on Foster's long ape arms. 1
He's
inch
mean.
cut. With our final cut to make sure we're still just the same as the clone, and we are.
Now I'm gonna say, he makes this look way too easy. Every single arrow is like perfect.
All right, now let's check it against the clone. That's really what the good thing is, and we'll set it on a hard surface here. Oh, they're identical. That is what we're looking for.
Does this take a lot of extra time to do what we just did?
Yes, absolutely. And this is something that I do for my personal arrows or guys that are willing to pay for it, because this is a very time-intensive thing. And most shops are going to cut them, square the one end, put your inserts in them, and that's good enough for 99.9% of guys. But there are that guy who wants to take it to the next level, and they're willing to pay for the time and the knowledge and effort that this takes, because this is very time-consuming. No shop could do this daily for every one of their customers. It's just impossible with time frames. Usually I have one that's a little bit longer just to support that arrow a little bit more, that a local guy machined. Dusty took it home for the weekend. But we got this one, and this will work just fine. Usually these guys will have two sides to their stone. It's a carbon side and then an aluminum side. The carbon side is kind of like a rough, gritty, and then that aluminum side usually has a straight edge along it. Foster is terribly hard on stuff, isn't he?
No comment. No
He
comment.
likes to push stuff to its
I'll say
limits.
it. I push stuff to the limits, and then I break stuff, and then I get mad. And
So what I'm doing here is I'm marking the entire end of each arrow with the silver Sharpie, and then when we get to the stone, I'll be able to check and see, you know, one swipe on them should take off most of it. If they're not square, it'll take that high side off and leave that low spot where the silver Sharpie is, and we'll be able to see that. And then we know if it needs a little more work or not.
is this another specialty?
Most places will
Above and
square. Like this is what Easton sends with most of their arrows, is some sort of a squaring stone, and you would just take your arrow and put it over that little dimple in the stone, and then back and forth and back and forth, and that'll knock the high sides off and get it real close. And that's a much more time effective and reasonable way to do it than this. This is just extra to
It's
make
extra.
yourself feel better.
And she bites him.
Oh, that'd be awesome. It's like a papoo.
In my brother's bow case.
Incredibly upset about it.
The brother was not happy.
Was it a nice boat case?
No. It was like playing on 110s.
Okay. If you want to go extra, what should you get?
For a bow case?
Yeah.
Oh, SKB is the way to go if you're gonna spend some real money on one. The SKB I-Series Hunter, the new one for this year, is a totally badass case. So now we've got all of our ends mostly sufficiently Sharpied. We'll fill in these ones where the last marker kind of got dry.
If you want to see the dirtiest shotgun ever, just hang out with him for like 3 months.
I bought an SX4 because Foster told me it was a good gun, and I totally love it. I did a bad thing and bought it, and then just ran like, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 rounds out of 2 seasons of solid hunting, a lot, and target shooting, and I never cleaned it. And I just thought, I couldn't remember, I thought it was black. And then Foster cleaned it and it was silver.
He goes to me, he's like, it's kind of like not like cycling, right? Dude, he had like a 1/2 inch of mud caked in that thing. I'm surprised it was even cycling.
Oh, it was running like
Testament
a champ.
to
It was
that
only
SX4.
the firing pin just got a little bit sticky, but it was still ejecting and doing everything else pretty solid.
I spent like $50 cleaning that thing. Maybe not that much, but like at least 10. Okay, the second person with the dirtiest gun is this guy right here.
Foster
One
did tell
time.
me-
Okay,
One-
twice.
One time after another is where
2 snow goose seasons. I bring a gun back that I borrowed from Foster, and it was a little dirty. I'm not gonna lie.
dude, I'm still trying to get that thing clean 3
Oh
years
my
later.
god! Here we go. Everybody gather around. Foster wants to tell stories. Come on.
Hey, back to archery.
All right, so I just ran this first one over the stone on both ends. I'm gonna remark this end with silver Sharpie. So this is the end I already squared. It's remarked. We're gonna take it and we're gonna put gold tip 250 up right here. We'll do 1 pass against that stone.
Now, how much pressure are you putting on the stone?
Not a ton, but enough to keep that thing square and in where it needs to be so you can take some material off of it. You can see after just that 1 pass, that entire thing is bare. So ideally, that is level now, you know, as long as everything else is straight and good, that's a square end.
Because if it wasn't, you would only have like half of it cut, or half
Yeah,
of
you would
the
have some
Sharpie.
silver Sharpie showing back on it. So we'll do that same thing on this other end. We're just gonna spin it 1 revolution. And you can see that one right there. That still has a little bit of Sharpie right next to my fingernail. Right there, a little bit. You see it, Corey? All right. So we'll take that one and we'll just grind it down a little bit more. You can just do 3 or 4 full passes back and forth. We'll take it, remark the end again, and 1 more full revolution. Now all that Sharpie wears off even.
So this is a very time-consuming process.
Very. Yep. This is some.
This is the killer.
Yeah. This is really into it stuff, and you don't have to get this specific by any means. You know, this is for the guys that want to make sure that everything is on them. You know what I mean? They know that they have the highest and best, most precise gear.
If I'm gonna miss, it's gonna be because of me, but I'm gonna blame it on something else. All right, so. Sorry. Can we help?
Rowdy audience
No.
tonight.
You're done. Anyways, guys, we're not gonna bore you with having to do all these arrows, so let's be done with this. And just like that, we got 12 arrows that are ready to rock and roll.
So these guys are all good cut, squared on both ends, ready to rock. We're gonna take these inserts that we've already got some glue pre-slathered on there. We're gonna heat these back up and put these in. This is the Gold Tip ballistic insert system. It comes with this little collar that'll sit flush to the front of the shaft, and that's how that insert-outsert combo will look at the end of it. Now we are gonna use the slick end of these Gold Tip LRTs. They have a slick coating to make them easier to pull out of 3D and foam targets, you know, prevent a little bit of that friction. So we're just gonna take our collar, slam it on the front end, heat up our glue on this insert here. If you put enough glue on there, there's only a certain amount that thing can take, and if you put it all at the back end, it'll just smear forward and ooze out everything it doesn't need. So there's one way to get your weight tolerances a little better if you're that picky, but gosh almighty. Well, video
Guys,
a
that's
while
what I
back about like
You do know if he could or like weigh that glue out?
he would.
weigh.
Oh yeah, I know.
Foster
he
would weigh that glue.
I know
out.
he would. I've seen him. Yeah, I know how Foster rolls. He likes to be
like,
precise.
"Did
I don't
you put-"
blame him.
He'd be like, "Did you put 0.4 ounces of glue in there, or 0.3?"
That'd be a lot of glue.
That'd be a lot
0.4
of
ounces. Yeah. And just take it and torch it for 1/4 of a second, really gentle, like boom, just like that, and it should just wipe right off, just like that. Beautiful. Little excess, it'll come off in the target the first time you shoot it.
Mine came off.
Oh, look at that. Foster's just got more grip strength. Married men.
Okay, ladies, I'm going home and eating dinner and cooking dinner for my dog.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Later, dudes. Catch you later.
Have a good one, Al.
Later.
Dude, I love these collars around the back.
Oh yeah, collars are handy. It keeps it like if you shoot league and you got, you know, a bunch of guys trying to pile arrows into one spot, or even if you're just shooting 3D and you got buddies that are shooting at the back of your arrows every day, they'll save you.
We're on to the arrow wraps, guys.
Well, here, let's show them how we cut them and how I wrap them and everything. Our deliciously lovely and oh so great condition wrap mat. It's been used for probably longer than I've been alive. So
It was passed down from generation to generation.
This is a special leprechaun flute, which has been passed down from thousands of years ago from my great-great-grandfather who was Irish. Don't be afraid, man.
we're gonna get pretty close to this collar. It needs to slide around a little bit. It's not gonna take the wrap with it. So we've got it even on both ends. We're gonna roll just nice and slow. Always grab that edge and seal it real quick just to make sure it's held down. Roll that bad boy the rest of the way. And that's pretty solid. You can see that just little sliver of black between that gold collar and that reflective wrap that Foster's running.
The SQ2.
Oh God! Stop. I got that.
Sounds like me when
Everybody get down!
You can read, right?
Yeah.
And look up.
Oh, whoops, my bad.
Corey!
Bing bong.
So guys, just like before, let's go and get them all done.
All right, let's go put some fletchings on them.
Yeah! Let's do it.
What are we doing?
Fletching time.
Yeah, I guess so.
One thing that I always check is, does your vein company recommend a certain kind of glue, and do they recommend primed or unprimed? Some veins like the AAE hybrids don't require being primed and will actually stick worse if you're on some acetone or some sort of a cleaner along the bottom of the foot. These guys aren't saying that they need primed or that they don't need primed. So Foster has got a right helical with a slight offset going here, and I'm just going to match that.
Can I get more of an offset, or what is recommended there?
If you've got something that you like, I generally stick to it. I'll clone most people's. I'll just copy whatever they bring into me. But if you request something, I mean, yeah, we can do as much as you want. Setting jigs like this, I mean, obviously we've got 36 Bitzenbergers right here, and if you're going to set to a specific degree on these guys, then you need to have an arrow of whatever diameter that you're going to fletch with that wrap on there is generally how guys will do it, and then they can match that foot of the vein, the contour on the wrap to get the right angle. Me, I just kind of eyeball it and play with it until it's how I like it. If you use a jig like an OMP Phoenix, which is what I use to personally fletch my arrows, or if you're one of them rich fancy guys, you can use one of the Last Chance Veinmaster Pros, and those are super nice and super consistent, but they have set degrees and offsets, so you can repeat and measure and know exactly what you got going. But on a bits here, it's really easy to match. First, we'll match your height of your vein, so it looks like you fletch on the second long mark.
Is there a sweet spot, per se, for the vein height?
For the vein height on the arrow, the length from the back of the nock to the... It all depends on the string angle of your bow and how your face is built and where you anchor. What I like is to have them as far back as I can without contacting my chin, just to get as little face contact as possible with my string, with my release hand, with everything. I want very light anchors and very light touches, or as little contact to no contact as I can manage. And that is the good thing about height. As far as helical and stuff, you can play around, and some guys really think that getting that arrow, all that more or less helical is doing is getting that arrow spinning faster. One thing that I will tell you is it depends on bow speed a lot and all sorts of stuff, but if you have a long draw length and a light arrow and a high bow speed, too much helical, you can start to kind of get a parachute where that back end of that arrow wants to visibly wobble out at distance because it's trying to over control.
What's a good medium, I guess, then, for most people? Just
What I usually do is just find a nice spot where I get good adhesion, where I get good contact with the front and back of that vein, and then I'll play with that from there, and if I think it's too much or not enough, I'll play with it. But you can get a pretty good sense. If you see that arrow, you know, spinning in the air, you're obviously too far with it. Those veins, they can get such a twist on them that you can see the curve of the vein as it shoots through paper, and I think that's a little bit too far. That's just a little too much control. With what you've got here, these are small veins, not a lot of surface area. It's really easy to match this angle up, and you can see how I do that is I'll just set it on a blank side right next to the vein, and then walk that over, and the front and the back touch at the same time. So we'll find our lock-in mark on this jig.
So then essentially you would have to do that for every single one of them?
Yeah, if you were gonna do a full dozen arrows, you would have to go through and set every single one of them. And we do that between shafts, but measuring each one of them with a specific angle is kind of hard, so that's why you just match what you got, and then you can roll through it pretty quick. You don't want too much glue on there, you just want enough glue that that whole foot looks wet. And some ooze out is okay and easily cleaned up. So we'll set that vein, keep this guy, and then I'll always go through and make sure that the front of the veins line up pretty close to each other, because sometimes, depending on the material of the vein or the company, some of them come out a little bit odd length of each other. I've had them up to 3/16 of an inch different from each other. So I just make sure that that front matches up, because that's where the wind is going to hit it first as it's flying.
Tech tip Thursdays, don't sniff glue.
Yeah.
So we took him out goose hunting was it last year? 2 years ago.
Closing day of last year.
Closing day, yeah.
Yep.
It was a wild ride.
I definitely wasn't invited.
You were at NWTF with me. We flew home together.
Oh yeah, and you went right out afterwards.
Yeah, and you were like, I want to be just dumb. It was probably one of the best days in this field we've ever had. And I was getting home from NWTF with Corey that didn't want to come with. And my dad ended up coming out with the truck, trailer, picking me up from the airport. We'd planned this out, so I had my boots and bibs, everything, all my brown gear there. He ended up meeting us. Was it your first goose hunt? Or like first
I'd shot
decoy?
one Canadian in my entire life. That doesn't count.
That doesn't count. We're hauling as fast as we can to get these decoys out. We know more than got like the last decoy and blind out, and here comes the first wave of birds. He takes his truck, I take the goose trailer, and we are getting, like flat out getting out of the field, like 50 miles an hour through this field. Park the trucks, and before we even get back to the blinds, my dad had his limit. It was that crazy.
Yeah, we shot our limit.
Did you shoot 4 for 4?
No, I wasn't 4 for 4. I was like 4 for 6. I'm not a good shotgun shooter. But yeah, we shot our limit in like 30 minutes, and then we sat there and you left one open so you could hunt for that quail.
Yep.
And that was super cool, and I was astounded that Foster could see these interesting markings on these birds, because I can't see nothing. Past 10 yards, it's a black dot to me. That's why I gotta have Foster take me waterfowl hunting so he can tell me, do shoot that, don't shoot that.
So these fletching,
Yep.
trying them out, I really like them so far.
Yeah, Q2Is are solid veins. They've been around forever. Their material is solid. They've got great cuts, and they're really consistent.
That's what I've been noticing, like shooting down here for league. I might have been able to beat you.
You wanna put money on it?
$1.
$1? Okay, I'll do a gentleman's bet.
You guys can't see me on the camera, but I am definitely shaking my head no. He's not going to beat him.
All right, so we've got a dozen fletched up arrows. These guys have been squared, cut from both ends on some, one end on others, whatever was going to make them straightest. We squared the ends after we cut them. We reinstalled Foster's nocks and collars. We wrapped them. We got our inserts in, and then we went ahead and put fletchings on them. Now my last step for making an arrow is a tip and a tail. So we'll come in with a little bit of, this is Fletch tight in just a squeeze bottle for convenience. We'll come in right at the tip of this vein and just drop a little dollop of glue and walk it right up that front of that shaft. And this will kind of shrink up, and then you come back here and just do a little dot on the back. And once again, that'll shrink up, but that just adds a little bit more adhesion, and it rounds out the front of that nose and flattens up real nice, makes a real smooth transition from your shaft up to your vein.
Just for reference, for a dozen arrows took 2 hours, and that's doing everything. Now, if someone was to come in, just wanted a dozen arrows fletched up, how long would that usually take for you guys?
Usually if I'm uninterrupted, I can get a dozen done in about 45 minutes. Generally, I can whip them out pretty quick if I'm undisturbed, doing it just how we would for the average bow hunter. And obviously, like we said, this is a step above, and that's okay. Sometimes you take that extra step above, but a little more time, a little more money, a little more precision.
Now guys, one thing I did do, just because I love the collars on the end, I know I brought it up a little bit, but I added those onto this because for league, they've saved my arrows more times than not. So I know with the Pierce LRTs, that piece is not included in them, but guys, I do definitely recommend you add those just because it is a great product. Honestly, they make it look really good. You have the gold on there, the gold in the back, the white. It just looks like a super pretty arrow that's gonna kill something big tomorrow. Tell us a little bit about Black Hills Archery, if you could.
Well, we've been in Rapid City, South Dakota since 1988. Al is the second owner. He's been here for 25 years now is how long he's been running this shop. 6 years ago, we moved from our original building into this big shop. We've got 15,000 square feet here, so we've got a lot of room to maneuver and do all of our good stuff that we do. We've got a 24-lane, 20-yard range downstairs. We've got a full service tech shop. We carry lines of camo and solids clothing. We sell Matthews, Mission, Hoyt, PSE, Bear, all the good stuff from that. We don't do much on social media, but you can check us out on Instagram at Black Hills Archery 605 or Facebook at just Black Hills Archery.
They have everything from releases, sights, arrows, scopes.
We sell Carter, UltraView, Option, HHA, Excel Spot, Hog, Black Gold, anything in the book. We got it probably.
Well guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Let me know in the comments below if there's any questions on anything archery, and I'll make sure that we do another video with Jacob because he is the bow master.
I don't know about that. I try my best. I do what I can.
And that's why I love coming down here, because you come down to get the best service and the best quality, and that's what Black Hills Archery delivers. So guys, stay safe in the field, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning into Prestige Outdoors. We're so happy to have you along on our journey. Be sure to like, comment, and click that follow button to see more hunting and outdoors content.